In 1982, a psychic led police straight to a missing child. What no one knew? Both the psychic and the vision were fakes. But what happened next shocked the world. Content warning: this story addresses missing persons, law enforcement errors, and psychic fraud. No explicit graphic details. Sensitive themes around child safety and deception. Imagine you're waking up in the gentle quiet of a small American town. The chirp of robins through the open window, that scent of dew and fresh-cut grass, your favorite socks already on your feet. At your kitchen table, a coffee steams, untouched as you flip through the local paper, page after page of sleepy headlines, safe, predictable, ordinary, until the phone rings. For the McAllister family in Peachdale, Illinois, May 1982 would be that first seismic crack in their ordinary world. Their youngest, Kevin, age 11, never comes home from school. His bike, a battered red Schwinn, sits askew on the corner of Elm and 3rd. No sign of Kevin. No one remembers seeing him after third period. His parents, Janice and Marvin, call neighbors, the school, finally the police. Within hours, their world shrinks to a single, unendurable question: where is Kevin? You might think you'd never know that kind of terror. You convince yourself your family, your life, are out of reach from such horror. But as the McAllisters sat at their kitchen table, watching the phone for a call that never came, you can be sure they'd once thought the same. The Peachdale Police Department's first search is methodical, if not inspired. Officers canvass the neighborhood, knocking on doors, handing out Xeroxed flyers with Kevin's gap-toothed grin smiling up at strangers. Dogs run, noses down, through empty parks and leafy backyards. The local paper prints a front-page photo. Missing, Kevin McAllister, age 11. Time ticks on. Days blur into a thick, syrupy dread. Each hour that passes, hope seeps a little lower. You can see it in the town's faces, the wary glances, the way mothers hold their children a bit tighter at the bus stop. But as the week closes, desperation gives birth to something else. Rumors. Parents warn their kids to steer clear of strangers. Whispers crawl through church pews and bingo halls. A drifter, a van, an unsavory uncle. Some even start saying the word, kidnapping. It's at that moment, at the ragged edge of the family's hope, that a new figure slips into the scene, a psychic. Helen Greaves is not what most think of when they hear medium. She is in fact a former hairdresser from Joliet. Big jewelry, blonder hair, a frosty dash of attitude, and a business card that reads, Psychic Consultant. Find what's lost. In the 1980s, her sort was making headlines, helping police solve cold cases across the country, popping up on Geraldo and local talk radio. In a world before the internet, these psychic detectives blurred the line between entertainment and tragedy. Detective Larry Cook, pressured by the McAllisters and spurred on by a local news crew looking for a happy ending, invites Greaves in. Maybe, just maybe, a miracle is what they need. Greaves lights candles and lays out faded tarot cards on the McAllisters' dining table. She says she sees water, thick woods, the number 17. She draws what she sees in her mind's eye: a tumble-down cabin, a blue check jacket, a rust-colored dog. Janice clings to these words as if they're life preservers. Marvin remains skeptical, arms folded. But truthfully, the police are stuck. Every tip has led nowhere. The psychic's involvement offers hope and, maybe more importantly for the department, good publicity. We pause just briefly to consider where this is going, because you, hearing this now, likely carry an implicit skepticism about psychics. Still, in moments of crisis, logic often gives way to need. Helen Greaves's visions lead searchers to a cluster of woods near Braidwood Lake. They find nothing. The McAllisters endure another day of agony. Then, a twist. A new call comes into the tip line. An anonymous voice repeats what the psychic described, almost word for word. The tipster claims to have seen Kevin, alive and near water. Cops rush to the scene, a muddy bank near Route 17. Again, nothing. This cycle spins on for days. Searchers comb every creek, pond, drainage ditch. At one point, someone dredges a pond after a medium claims to see a blue aura there. News vans keep rolling. Hope flickers each time, only to gutter out again. National attention lands on Peachdale, as Helen Greaves conducts a televised walkthrough for CBS. Holding Kevin's baseball cap, she closes her eyes and declares, "He is within 2 miles of here. There is a lock of red hair stuck to a tree. You will find him by the water." The McAllisters, filmed by the trembling lens of a local cameraman, look lighter for a moment, hopeful, if only because it's hope itself they need. The community, too, is swept up. Psychic hotlines ring off the hook. Donations flood in for search efforts. But the truth, real, hard, physical truth, remains absent. The psychic's details grow more and more dramatic. A vision of a hidden room beneath a house. A shadow man in a red pickup truck. Yet every lead is a dead end. Behind the scenes, local detectives start to grumble. "She's wasting time," one says to a colleague. "We're being made to look like clowns." But higher-ups tell them, "Play along, keep the press interested. Anything's better than a cold story." It is, as it turns out, a perfect storm. Desperation, publicity, and the seductive power of certainty, even if that certainty is a lie. And then Peachdale gets a call from the next county over. A parent, tearful, saying their child, Casey Ridgemont, is gone. The circumstances eerily similar to Kevin's case. Young, vanished after school, no witnesses, no clues. Helen Greaves, now a minor local celebrity, is immediately consulted. She declares she senses a connection. Both children, she says, are being held together. By the same abductor maybe, or in the same hidden place. The FBI steps in, quietly skeptical of the psychic's growing role. On June 8, 1982, an agent, Special Agent Robert Gannon, records in his notes, "Unusual amount of public attention paid to psychic. Note, family pressure and media. Possible misdirection." But at this point, local law enforcement, cornered by both families and a hungry press, let the psychic consult on both searches. More visions, more wild leads. And then, improbably, 2 weeks after Casey's disappearance, a game warden searching at the psychic's urging stumbles across a blue-checked jacket on the riverbank. It matches Casey's. Searchers race to the scene. A mile downstream, they find Casey, shivering, scared, but alive. She'd gotten lost, stuck in thick mud, then taken shelter in a culvert. She'd survived mostly on creek water and wild berries. The story is a miracle. The skeptic is hailed as a hero. Headlines scream, "Local psychic saves missing child. I saw her in my mind." Cameras pan to Helen Greaves, tearful with relief. The McAllisters rush to embrace her. Janice calls her an angel sent to us. Donations triple. Psychic hotlines nationwide see their busiest week ever. Helen is invited on Good Morning America. But there's one problem. Everything the psychic described matched details already released in news reports. The vision of the blue-check jacket, it had been shown on TV hours before. And as for Kevin, he's still missing. His parents, devastated, start to suspect they've been duped. Enter Paul Drake, a restless journalist for the Chicago Tribune, known for his doggedness and his skepticism of miracles. Drake's gut tells him something's wrong. He pores through tapes of Helen Greaves' predictions, cross-referencing each psychic detail with what's already public knowledge. He finds a pattern. The locations discovered through Greaves' visions are all places already searched, often named in public tip sheets. The vivid red truck and shadow man, directly from an interview with a neighbor on local TV. Drake interviews police, frustrated searchers, and quietly even reaches out to the Ridgemonts. He asks questions. When did Greaves know about the jacket? Where did her information really come from? Bit by bit, a distressing picture begins to emerge. The psychic isn't getting her information from any otherworldly source. She's drawing it from the very public, very well-publicized facts swirling around the case. But still, Casey was found, and the psychic pointed the way. Coincidence? Dumb luck? Or something else? Particular we want let's see even, a some way, mount a celested before you on a lichity. Even, a some way, in your critic, on YG's. The discovery of Casey Ridgemont, alive, doesn't bring the McAllisters closure, it brings agony. Now every false lead and every media circus weighs heavier, and their missing child's fate seems even more uncertain. Yet, behind the scenes, Helen Greaves basks in newfound fame, sipping coffee on live TV, consulting with other desperate families. Her psychic hotline receives hundreds of calls a week. Detective Cook, wearied and hollow-eyed, starts to confide in Paul Drake. "She's not helping," he admits one night. "We're nowhere closer to finding Kevin, but she's made us celebrities." The community is now split. Some deify the psychic, others see smoke and mirrors. The local police, frustrated and humiliated, contemplate pulling the plug. But how can they, now that Greaves is a celebrity, a symbol, a last hope for so many? The world shrinks for the McAllisters. But, in the circus of media psychics in desperate hope, a true answer is about to surface. An answer that, unimaginably, was sparked not by prophecy or vision, but by the very lie that fueled the psychic's fame. "In she's of all tomorrow's of sinnabers, is an incuse with the United Sarrow, but fonnily that dish and burn a generations of Cabri people, because of very eternal or various bird. And so we know we do that." Imagine you wake up in a town that still smells like summer grass and morning coffee, but everything feels off. Your neighbor's porch lights burn day and night, parents keep glancing down empty sidewalks, and the local diner is quieter than it's ever been. There are two banners in the grocery store window. One says, "Thank you, Psychic Helen," with bright, shaky letters. The other, taped just beneath, shows a grainy photo of Kevin McAllister. The words, "Still missing. Any information, please." Casey Ridgemont is home, her cheeks thin but health returning, her parents' eyes shining with impossible relief. The story everywhere is the miracle. Local TV repeats Helen Greaves' vision clip every hour. The townspeople want a hero, and for now, the psychic plays that role perfectly. But if you look closer, hear the tension in conversations, you sense an unease. As if the whole town is holding its breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Detective Larry Cook's desk is drowning in paperwork, tips, rumors, dead ends. He stares at Helen Greaves' handwritten map, lines running haphazardly across Braidwood Lake and nearby woods. The phone rings. It's a tip from a woman claiming she saw Kevin, wandering near a river. It sounds just like yesterday's tip, and the day before's. He hangs up and sighs. The case file is swelling, but the facts aren't changing. The search for Kevin has become an echo of itself. Cook thinks about pulling the plug on Greaves, but the police chief, jittery from the publicity, wants the circus to roll on. "She bought us time. Maybe she'll get lucky again." As if luck could become a strategy. Journalist Paul Drake's wall of clues is growing, literally. The pattern is unmistakable. Every single psychic hit matches information broadcast on the 6 p.m. news the night before. Drake listens again to Greaves' interviews. He notices a tick. Whenever Helen is pressed on details not yet public, she hesitates, changes the subject, or quotes something already aired. He confronts Detective Cook off the record. "Haven't you noticed? Every vision she has is something someone else said first. How is she helping?" Cook shrugs helplessly. "Don't ask me. Ask the chief. Or the Ridgemonts. They think she's a saint." But Drake does notice one new detail. A phone number, logged in the tip line records, that keeps popping up before Greaves' most accurate predictions. Registered, it turns out, to a payphone in Joliet, Greaves' hometown. He files this detail away, cautious. Is the psychic just lucky, or is someone feeding her information? Imagine you're Janice McAllister. You're sitting in your living room, sunlight spilling over Kevin's untouched tennis shoes by the door. Every knock, every phone call sets your heart racing. You're grateful Casey Ridgemont is safe, truly, but the TV footage of her reunion brings both tears and envy. Where is your son? Has everyone forgotten him? You start to wonder, did the psychic ever care about Kevin? Or was your family just a stepping stone? The Peachdale community begins to spectacle. At church, a heated whisper breaks out after the Sunday sermon. One mother, fiercely loyal to Helen Greaves, lashes out at another who voices her doubts. "You have no idea what that woman did for Casey," she snaps. "You should be grateful." Later, this argument will seem trivial, but at the time, it is everything. The wound beneath the bandage, the proof that even hope can become divisive. Behind the scenes, Special Agent Robert Gannon is writing reports. The Casey Ridgemont miracle catches his eye, but so do inconsistencies. He talks quietly with local detectives, asks them for transcripts of Greaves' visions, and begins cross-checking timelines with what's been publicly released. He attends one of Helen's public walkthroughs. She's charming, if nervous. She winks at the camera, cracks a joke about her spirit guide Hank, and points vaguely at a patch of woods. No real leads. But the crowd eats it up. Afterwards, Gannon makes a careful note. No novel information provided by Psychic. Data aligns exactly with recent news coverage. Let's step outside the story for a moment. You, sitting there listening, may scoff at psychic detectives. It's the stuff of tabloids, right? But think, if your world shattered, if someone you loved disappeared, would you really say no to hope, no matter how irrational? Would you risk missing even the slimmest chance for a miracle? Would you hand your trust, your grief, to a stranger with a gift? Because just maybe, they could see what you cannot. In the 1980s, America is hungry for meaning, desperate for certainty in uncertain times. Psychics fill a need not just for clues, but for comfort. Helen Greaves, for all her fakery, is also a mirror, showing the country how far it's willing to go for hope. The Ridgemonts, flush with gratitude, officially hire Greaves for further work. National Talk Radio picks up the story. Psychic hotlines across the Midwest see a flood of calls for missing pets, lost wallets, cheating spouses. News van satellite dishes sprout outside the McAllister's house. There's even talk of developing a TV movie about Helen, the psychic who saved a town. Then, a break. A new witness steps forward, a fisherman, claiming to have seen a boy matching Kevin's description near a deserted bait shop south of Peachdale, 17 miles out. It's just far enough to match the number in Greaves's original vision. Searchers descend on the site. All they find is a shoe. Not Kevin's size, not the right brand, not even the right color. A dead end, again. But news stations run the headline, "Psychic Vision Checked. Community Never Gives Up Hope." Pausing for a moment, you wonder, how much longer can this keep going? Paul Drake's investigation heats up. He tracks phone records, schedules, and discovers something Alan Ridgemont, Casey's father, had mentioned was misrepresented. Helen called us after the segment aired, not before. She always seems to be one step ahead, but only if you count from the 6 o'clock news. Drake corners Helen after a public appearance. "Do you really think you're helping these families, or helping yourself?" She bristles. "I just give the messages I receive. Isn't it better to try something than nothing?" The cameras nearby catch her poised and dignified, but off mic her hand shakes. In his next Tribune column, Drake writes, "Psychics bring hope, but is hope enough when false leads waste real time? In the case of Kevin McAllister, time is the greatest enemy, and publicity the cruelest friend." On June 24, a massive search is scheduled for a remote marshland. One last, desperate effort. Greaves insists on live TV that this is the place. The McAllisters go, half the town volunteers. Hours turn up nothing. Volunteers trudge back, mud-caked and deflated, some openly crying. The McAllisters, hollowed out, nearly collapse from grief. It's the cruelest sort of hope, a hope that by nightfall feels like a betrayal. Police are quietly furious, but the chief issues a guarded press statement. "We will continue exploring all leads, including those provided by Ms. Greaves." At his office, Paul Drake finds something in the maze of phone records. A call placed from Helen Greaves's number to a local private investigator, Frank Gurney. Digging further, Drake learns that Gurney has been shadowing the official investigation, obtaining crime scene info, and leaking it to Greaves for cash. He brings this to Detective Cook and, together they lay a trap. They leak false details about an abandoned car with children's belongings by a pond, details not released anywhere else. Within 24 hours, in her next TV interview, Greaves sees the pond, describes the car, and details the specific child's toy. Caught red-handed, the house of cards begins to sway. Night in Peachdale is no longer comforting. Streetlights flicker and hum, windows glow, and the once sleepy lanes throb with tension. Neighbors eye each other warily, curtains part for the briefest glances, then snap shut. The local radio plays soft golden oldies, but in between, PSA announcements about Kevin McAllister's disappearance stutter through the static. Imagine you're walking home after dark now. Even the familiar oaks seem menacing, their shadows sharper than you remember. You see the police cruisers crawl by, spot faces behind drawn blinds, sense the strain in your neighbor's tight-lipped nods. Hope and skepticism flow in uneasy tandem across the community. Helen Greaves's celebrity is now a double-edged sword. For every candle vigil in her honor, another group gathers in frustration at Peachdale's small city hall, demanding the police focus on real leads, stop the circus. The town is split. Some see Helen as their last, best hope. Others mutter about grifters and television vultures preying on grief. A local parent, Gloria Weaver, addresses the community meeting that night. "We want our children safe. We want the truth, not magic tricks and cameras. Every day spent chasing a new vision is another day our real children are lost." The crowd erupts, voices overlapping and heated. Janice McAllister sits pale and worn in the front row. She cannot speak. Exhaustion defines her posture. Every word for or against Helen feels like a stone dropped on her already heavy heart. That same night, Paul Drake barrels through a storm in his battered Chevy to get to the office of Frank Gurney, private detective, part-time informant, and now a key player in the unraveling case. Inside, Drake lays out his evidence: phone records, witness statements, and the trap detail Helen parroted on live TV. An abandoned car by a pond, children's toys left behind. Gurney's eyes dart nervously. Drake leans in, voice low. "You're trading a child's life for headlines. For what, money? Notoriety? We could bring the cops right now." Gurney, cornered, cracks. He confesses to sharing confidential police notes with Greaves in exchange for cash. Further pressure from Drake, and the private eye admits he's not the only source. Helen's manager, her assistant, sometimes even her own family, trawl Peachdale for street gossip, passing every scrap to make Helen's visions more compelling. Drake records every word, his tape deck whirring. He knows this is not just a story about a missing boy anymore. It's about how lies can metastasize until nobody remembers what real hope feels like. June 29, 1982. The Chicago Tribune publishes Drake's expose, "The Psychic Detective, Smoke, Mirrors, and Stolen Hopes in Peachdale." The article lays out the timeline, quotes officials off record, and methodically dismantles Helen's myth, most damningly including Gurney's tape confession. The town explodes. By midday, reporters from every major network descend, all angling for a comment from Helen, from the McAllisters, from any cop who will go on record. The Peachdale police chief issues an embarrassed, terse statement. "We are reevaluating all evidence and leads. The psychic consultant is no longer involved." Helen Greaves denies everything, claims she's the victim of a smear campaign. On the courthouse steps, with cameras flashing, she weeps. "I only ever wanted to help. If information came through my guides, how could I know if it was already public? I never lied. I brought Casey home, don't forget that." But few are listening anymore. Some supporters rally, but most townspeople turn away. Casey Ridgemont's family, distraught and embarrassed, withdraw from public view. All the noise, all the collapse, finally clears the air. The Peachdale police, free from needing to appease Greaves or the media, begin reviewing the actual evidence with new eyes. An officer, Detective Linda Parsons, notices a minor detail in a witness statement nearly overlooked the first week after Kevin's disappearance. A maintenance worker saw a blue van parked for several afternoons near Elm and 3rd, the intersection where Kevin's bike was found. The van was gone before the police canvassed. No psychics, no press, just a tired, careful detective, and the quiet labor of actual police work brings this lead forward. The McAllisters, for the first time in weeks, have no psychic visitors or TV-savvy reporters to entertain. Their home feels hollow, ringed by sympathy cards and uneaten casseroles. But in this bleak quiet, Janice begins making phone calls herself. Not to Helen Greaves or the hotline, but to every local repair shop, gas station, and used car lot. She asks, "Have you seen that blue van?" And, "Can you check your records, please?" Her determination sparks a subtle, critical shift. Peachdale's residents, ashamed and worn, return to practical efforts. making calls, organizing real search teams, checking cameras at ATM machines and gas stations. The town that once placed hope in visions finally rallies around concrete action. Special Agent Gannon, on his last night before being reassigned, sits in his car reviewing decades-old manuals about abduction patterns. By late, he receives a call. There's been a blue van reported stolen from a nearby town the day before Kevin vanished and returned a week after with miles added, mud caked in the wheels, and 2 children's stickers on the dashboard. He orders forensic sweeps and teams to comb the area where the van was last seen. This time, no psychic, no press. It is not a miracle, not a revelation. It is hard, frustrating, grinding work that finally at last reveals the truth. Let's stop here. Imagine you're any of them. Janice, Detective Cook, Paul Drake, even Helen Greaves. Each believed they were grasping for hope, some genuinely, some for fame, some just to move forward. But this is the cost of a shortcut to certainty in a world with none. Time lost, wounds deepened, trust shaken, whole communities humbled. In the haze of hope, the only true rescue comes when you turn from spectacle to substance. As the dust settles, one thing becomes clear. Helen Greaves is finished in Peachdale. Her hotline loses calls, the TV offers dry up, her manager tries rebranding, none work. The real search, now unglamorous and mostly out of media sight, continues. Kevin's face returns to flyers, the search area expands, and slow, excruciating, and quietly heroic, the town tries to heal. Imagine sitting in your living room as midnight ticks by. The world outside is quiet. No TV vans, no psychic, no agitated well-wishers with casseroles. It's just you, your spouse, and memories folding in around the empty chair at the kitchen table. The phone is silent, but for a single steady pulse of hope. The McAllisters are living this moment. Janice, beyond tears, sorts through every page of her phone list, one neighbor, a used car lot, then the next. Marvin, pale from sleepless worry, rifles through boxes in the garage, looking for any old clue missed. Down at Peachdale PD, Detective Linda Parsons stares at the timeline tacked on her file room wall. Amid the scribbles, she circles one. The blue van, its brief presence, odd time and quick exit. By sunrise, a patrol unit trails a lead to a rural storage lot 2 towns over. There, under green tarp and dust, the blue van sits. The air is washed blue-gray as detectives comb the van. They document everything: children's stickers on the dash, dried mud in the tires, a backpack wedged under the driver's seat. Tucked inside, a small, tangled mass of keys and a notebook, its first page marked KM, Elm 3rd. They call the McAllisters. This time the tone is measured, careful. "We found something. Please come in." It isn't a miracle. It's not a vision bestowed by ghosts or hope. It's a process, a chain of determined people, painfully, methodically unraveling what most had missed in the noise. That afternoon, inside a pale, sunlit Peachdale interview room, the van's owner, a local handyman previously overlooked, confesses. He'd seen Kevin near his van, walking home, and impulsively offered a ride. What started as a kindness spiraled in panic when Kevin, frightened, escaped at a rest stop hours later. Terrified of blame, the handyman never called authorities. Days of chaos and psychic-driven headlines had buried his memory. Kevin is found alive, tired, dirty, but safe, having hidden in an unused shed a few miles outside Peachdale for days, finally flagged down by a gas station clerk who recognized his missing poster. Tears and relief flood the town, the real kind, born from grim persistence, not spectacle. The McAllisters, hollowed but whole, embrace their son beneath an awning of camera flashes. Reporters whisper, no psychic, no visions, just a frightened boy, the solace of reason, and the quiet work of exhausted people who refuse to give up. Detective Parsons, Drake, Agent Gannon, they're not hailed as miracle workers or mystics, but as the true heroes emerge, a town finds its center again. Helen Greaves quietly leaves Peachdale, her story dissolving into fragments of rumor, her miracles left behind for good.
Don't forget to subscribe to Real Mystery Reports for more strange, dark, and profoundly human stories. New true mysteries every day.